Hello and welcome. This is our first Concur video showing how to submit expenses for reimbursement in Concur for Lawson Mechanical. This is our login page. You should be able to get here. It's concursolutions.com. And this is after you have your account set up, which should be your email address. And one thing I want to point out on this page is they always have these cool cities in the background, these pictures. And if you are wondering where it is, hover over the picture with your mouse, and in the bottom right of the picture, you'll see where it's at. So this is Boston. Go Red Sox. All right, I'm gonna log in here. And here's our landing page. There's a few ways to get to submitting an expense report, which is what we're going to be doing today. You can press the button up here that says Start a Report. You can click on Expense. And here's another way where you can say Create New Report here. Either way will get you to the same place. So let's just do it. Let's jump into this. Today we're going to be going over how to create a new expense report with multiple expenses and how to submit that report for approval. Report name. Let's call this one TL July 2021. Put in a report date. Business purpose. You don't have to fill this out. You'll see within Concur, if there's a red bar on it, like it has in report name, it is a required field. If there's not, you can skip it. If I have multiple expenses, I might not put something here. If I have a single expense, like let's say I'm just submitting for some mileage, it's easy to put mileage in there. In this case, I'm going to put in a couple expenses and there are a couple meals. So let's say meals. The bottom right, you have the next button. You press that and then you're in this new spot where it says a new expense. If you needed to add another new expense, you could press this button. But when you're creating a new report, the first thing it does is pull up that page. We got a new expense. In this video, we're just going to use overhead as the expense type. As you can see here, there's 5 different expense types. And the other video that we have called 5 expense types goes over when to use each of those and how to use each of those. In this case, we're just going to go over overhead. When you select overhead, the first thing it wants is division. You see here I have some recently used codes. That can be helpful if you've recently used, but if this is your first time, you shouldn't have anything there. You scroll down here, you'll be able to see the different divisions. If you're not sure which division to use, you can always ask accounting. For me, it's division 01. And then you select the GL number. These are in alphabetical order because it has this text radio button highlighted. If I wanted to do it by the number, I could press on code, and now you can see lower numbers up top, higher numbers down bottom. In this case, we're going to say this is a business meal. Transaction date, you can put whenever it was. I'm just putting in today for these ones. Let's say this was a team lunch. Vendor description is Chipotle. And the amount is $48.30. The comment section, again, this is not required, it's not read here, but I do recommend if you are submitting a meal, we need to know who was eating. And so this is a good place to put that if it's not already on your receipt. Now, what would be great is if you have it both on your receipt and in the comment section here. This looks like it's all ready to go. I say save, and then look what happens. We've got a warning here. It says receipt image required. We didn't attach a receipt. So let's do that. To attach a receipt, you go down here and say attach receipt. If you've previously have receipts in here and maybe deleted a report or whatever, it can show up under available receipts. Also, if you took a picture of a receipt with the app, then it will show up here in available receipts. In this case, we don't have that. We're just going to browse for it. Here's my Chipotle receipt. All right, that looks good, right? Wait a second, it's not actually attached yet. It shows that this is what's selected for uploading, but it's not actually attached. I got to press this attach button. Okay, now it's attached. I always like to check on it. You can click on this receipt image, and then you can see, okay, yep, it did attach my receipt. That's good stuff. So now this expense is ready to go. I'm going to say save. And now it opens up another new expense window. If this were my only expense, I could press submit report. But in this case, I want to put in another expense. Best practice is to put in multiple expenses. The reason is that we are charged by report. Every quarter, we have a set number of reports that we said that we're going to use. If we go over that, we need to pay a little additional money. And so if you have 10 expenses that are going into one report, that's just one towards our total. But if you put in a separate report for each of those 10 expenses, that counts 10 towards our total. So if you can, batching up your expenses together is what is best practice. For me personally, that's on a monthly basis. If you have a really expensive reimbursement you need, or a lot of reimbursements, you really need to get the money, maybe weekly. But try not to do any more frequently than that. Let's submit our second expense. This one I'm going to say is overhead. And I'm going to do this one kind of like we just did our last one. I'm going to have it be business meals. Except this time, we'll say it's Little Caesars. And let's make up other people that were at this lunch. Again, I need to attach a receipt. Remember to click the attach button. I always like to check it. Hey, it's in there. I'm going to save this. And now we see it pop up over here. We've got 2 expenses on this report. Now it's ready to go. I'm going to say submit report. Are you sure you want to submit this report? Yes, I am. Submit the report, and it shows me who it's going to. In this case, it's going to Rod Barber. Close it. Now it takes me back to my landing page for expenses. And you can see these ones with the darker bar on top says not submitted. So always make sure if you've submitted something that when you see this landing page that it's green and says submitted. Now that I have submitted this, Rod is going to get an email that says this expense is ready for your approval. But in this case, this was just a demonstration. And so I'm going to get rid of this. If you ever mistakenly submit something that you need to take back, or maybe realize right after you submitted it that you need to put another thing on there, or you need to take something off, whatever it is, you can recall it. The way you do that is clicking on the report and then say recall. Are you sure you want to recall this report? Yes. Now the expense report is recalled. I can see I have my 2 expenses in here. I could add more if I wanted. I could delete if I wanted. And in my case, this is a fake one, so I'm just going to delete the whole report. And there we go. There's a brief introduction into how to create an expense report and submit an expense report within Concur.